Hey everyone, welcome to another Sunday. Hopefully you've got your gravel vac out, you got your hands wet, you're working on your tanks, and you're gonna kill a couple hours with me on a Sunday, 6 p.m. Sunday. If this is your first one, we try to do most Sundays, which we're actually skipping next Sunday because I'm gonna be with Dan's Fish. He'll be here and at Dean's Fish Room, and as far as it's planned right now, I'll be at the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society meeting on Saturday. So if you want to come hang out, say hi, join. Well, now you don't have to join. Just come to the meeting. GSAS. So Greater Seattle Aquarium Society. If you're in Washington, what's new? I just got back from Kentucky. Was there. Flew out Monday. Flew back Thursday, and we dialed in the plant systems. We used the par meter and went through all the tanks, and we added light, we took light away, we adjusted, we did all those things. So now our plants are even better. And yeah, so we're trying to gear up for the season, if you will. And, you know, we wanted to get a little more purling going on. You might have seen a little video about that. Just a little more growth, a little more things dialed in so that things just go even smoother. Like the metrics have been great. I know some people here that got early to the chat. If you don't know that, we hang out for about an hour before we go live. We're asking, hey, talk a little bit more about business. And I said, hey, if you ask the question, I'll try and answer them. But yeah, metrics are looking good. As far as plants go, we've actually never had plants be as stable as they are right now. And that just means that even through this hot summer and everything, we're batting incredibly well. It's like less than 1% on almost every plant is having a defect. So that's pretty good when that includes things that get lost in the mail, things that get delayed, all of that. So it's not just like, oh, it arrived and a customer complained. It's literally all of those things go into the bin, and we categorize it. And yeah, so let's get to the new stuff. The new stuff is this shirt. I'm going to show it off here. Fell in love with it. It's Randy's idea here. Comes in a nice bag, by the way, so you won't get any gunk on the way. But he had our partners at AKT spin something up, and there was a few different ideas, and I love this one. I chose the the shirt color and how many colors on the shirt, and so yeah, it actually is quite expensive to make this shirt because there's two different pinks, two different greens, and then the black. And then we put it on this color shirt so that way we didn't have to print white and then black. And we put these. So my goal is to get everybody just wearing Aquariumcoop merch. And so if you've been following, which no one has, so I'm just going to cut to that. No one's been following that. We've been lowering the price on like hats and shirts and like that shirt right there. If you're in, I think large, medium, small, $12.99, and if you're all the way up at 4XL, goes up to well, actually, let me look. I was gonna say $14.99, but I might have been lying. So let me look. This just dropped right now, by the way. Is it even sorted correctly? Yeah, there it is, kind of. We don't even have great pictures up yet. Yeah, $14.99. And at that point, with the larger shirts, I think technically we're making $1.50 when we sell one, but that wouldn't include shipping or anything. So we're basically, my goal was how low could we bring the prices down on these things, and you can show that you like planted aquariums. It also, I'm knocking on wood. I don't even know why my wife is telling me why to knock on wood, but yeah, making it as cheap as possible to represent Aquarium Co-op without going out of business, and you get a cool shirt. And this, I think, I got to get through the wash a couple more times, but I think it's going to be my new go-to. I like the color, I like the fit, I like everything about it. We paid the $1 billion to screen print, which I was talking with. I could have wore his hat. I met up with Ethan of Fishmania out of. Is it out of Chattanooga? It's out of Tennessee. Anyway, I'm a real stickler for shirts, and he was like, and I was like, yeah, your shirt looks like it's direct to print. And he's like, what's that? And So the nerd difference is a direct to print shirt. Think of it like you click print on a piece of paper and it prints out of your printer. You can do that for shirts too. It just kind of prints it on. But they don't really get into the fibers and they don't last nearly as well. It's more likely to like scratch off. Where this one is the best process, the actual screen printing, and so every color is laid and basically heat and baked into the fibers. And so that's where typically our hoodies and shirts and things like that last just forever. I've got hoodies we've been wearing for 7-8 years at this point. Sure, they're going to fade a little bit in the color, and you snag them on stuff when you're camping and everything, but it's not the cheaper versions. And so they'll, you're getting your money's worth, and that's why, we don't really make any money on it. But my goal, like, I'd much rather have a good shirt out there that people enjoy and like to wear, as opposed to something that you're like, oh, it's starting to flake off, or that's, yeah. I got a shirt from the co-op and it rocks. The sizes are legit. Oftentimes 3X isn't really a 3X. Yes, it is. I'm a big dude, and I mandate that we carry up to 4XL. We used to carry up to 5XL, but we really didn't sell any of the 5XLs. But I mandate we carry the larger sizes, and then they actually fit true to size, which it's really hard to do, obviously. But I'm of the, you buy a 2 or a 3XL, and then all of a sudden, it fits like it's a medium. So, am I superstitious or medium-stitious? Yeah, I partake in it. I find it more fun and folksy than I don't actually believe whatever, if you don't knock on wood, it's going to be a problem. But yeah. When are the undulata being dropped? We already did drop Cryptocorn undulata this week. We added that on and sold out. So we've been really behind the scenes. We've been kind of quiet, and we've been working on just adding tons of stuff. And so what that means is it's not just, we don't just look at the list and then be like, cool, we'll order some of that. Instead, like right now, I can, I'll leak it. We're working on Blixa. Well, Blixa doesn't exist in a potted form anywhere. So we're getting farms to spin it up, and then we'll do testing, and then we'll release it. But that might be 4 to 6 months out because they aren't on grow tables yet, right? So things like that where we want to actually try to bring more than just what's already out there and go, hey, I think this is missing. We think this could work. And it's always hard, like our watermelon plant, Ladernia. We sourced it, the one that actually has the watermelon look to it, and got it to the farms, got them growing it. We sell much more than they're growing yet, but it takes time to ramp up because a farm doesn't want to go, hey, let's grow 1 million pots of that. And we're only selling 100. And so you kind of have to prove it step by step of like, hey, and so we'll come in and go, hey, we'll guarantee we'll sell at least this many. Can you start with that? And from there, as sales keep going, they will keep propagating. But they can run into problems too. Sometimes a plant that does great in our aquariums doesn't do well in sun or that heat, depending on that farm. And so, yeah, you need this hat. This hat's for sale. You can get it for $19.99, which, again, we're making like a buck or two. These hats used to be $29.99, and we were making, we're making $12. Like, we weren't doubling our money or anything. But and you can get an Enjoy Nature Daily hat for $14.99. So, yeah. What are some cool aquarium products to buy that are only sold in Europe to bring back to the US? Most of those, if I saw them, I probably would work on importing. But there's some foods for sure. A lot of high-end foods, but that can be kind of hard to get through importation. Like if you're just flying back with it. So I don't bring a lot of foods back when I go to China or Europe or anything because I don't want to you got to declare them, and then they're going to ask what's in them, and sometimes they're in a different language. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any product that just stands out where it's like that. I wish we could get over here. I don't think I would be working on importing it probably if I really thought, yeah, we got to get that. There's some Japanese products, like there's a whole magazine uh and foods designed to Japanese rice fish. So there's that if you're going to Japan. Thank you for doing 100% cotton. Can I ask what fabric weight is? I don't know. Let me see if it says. I'm not good at it being a judge of fabric weight. I go by like I'll a lot of times I'll have them print a bunch of samples, which costs us a ton of money. This time I actually did not, um, because basically what happens is, let's say we want 5 samples on 5 different shirts. They're like, sweet, it's $400, and that's like, oh, that's a lot. And then if we just print a ton of shirts, then it's like, hey, it's $10 a shirt. And like, oh, well, that makes 40 shirts for $400. It's way better. And this one, I really love the design, and this is the shirt that we used for the giveaways at Aquashellas. So I already knew I liked this shirt, and but let me see if I can see it on here. They usually do it by ounce, like, oh, this is a 5.8 ounce, but I don't know. We could find out if we really needed to, but it's not super thin. Usually I'm trying, if you have any of our other shirts, I'm trying to match that. I don't want it to be way too hot when you're in, working on your tanks or fish room or out in public. I like just kind of a standardized shirt, because our employees will be wearing these. Lots of employees around the country will be wearing them. People at the warehouse are wearing them. And so we don't like to go too thick and too hot or way too thin. We go, it's kind of a middle of the road thing for us. Let's see here. Is today's topic just to frustrate everybody not in the US? Yeah. I try to go out of my way, and I plan most things to make everybody angry outside of the US. That's my usual goal. No, unfortunately, we're only in the US, and we also have products sold in Canada. We did try to ship worldwide for a bit. That we learned a lot, and had to pull back because it was a kind of a nightmare in taxes and tariffs and shipping fees, and each country had its own challenge, and why is it so expensive to ship, and that kind of stuff. So, but we do hope to get partners and everything. We have people that are interested. It's working out logistics and all of that. So, yeah. But you can totally ask. Like, we're not just going to talk about merch all day. I fully expect there to be questions that I get to answer. So that's, roll in with those, and I'll roll out with answers. How has the 6-pack plant mystery box been doing for us? It's been doing amazingly well. It's a lot about learning. So like Randy, for instance, he would never buy a mystery box. I probably aren't a mystery box person either. Just because I would expect the company's going to give me like the worst stuff or whatever, right? I just assume the worst. Where I know you're getting cream of the crop basically from out of our warehouse with those, just like you would any other plant. We don't like just because they're discounted, but we've learned that there's quite a few people that get stuck of like, I'm not sure what to order. I'll just order this, and then they get that and they're happy, and so been working well. I think what's really nice about it. And I have some more data for everybody in case anyone cares. The maximum plants that we can fit into our liner is 10. And I know that because I got requested. We worked with the app developer. And now if you order more than 10 plants, it'll add a second liner. So before, we were having to have someone run out and grab a second liner out on the floor to ship them to you. So shipping 6 at a time works out really well, because most people are ordering the plant pack plus a couple of the plants they really want. And so for the most part, if you're ordering 4 plants plus a plant pack, you've maximized the shipping, which is the best we can do for the environment. So that always feels good. We still haven't quite cracked the code on how do we get someone that orders 1 banana plant and then we got to use a big liner. The liners are pretty expensive nowadays, and having multiple sizes is like a thing, but adds layers of complexity and that kind of stuff. So it's on the roadmap of like, yeah, when we tackle some of these bigger impactful items, whether it's money-wise for the business, environmental-wise, whatever that is, it is on a list though. And what I love about our company is stuff keeps getting added, and we go through and we sort it, every few months, and we go, okay, this needs to come up, this needs to go down. This is kind of, oh, we actually solved that in another way on accident. And so things, sometimes they're like, oh, we reordered the list. That's the next biggest thing. We're working on that tomorrow. Opaline gouramis with Reminos tetras should be just fine, I would think. What are my opinion on the UVB LEDs in freshwater planted lights? Will freshwater fish and plants benefit from UV light? My limited testing with turtles and just having some of those lights, no, I haven't seen any difference. So I was on a kick for a while where fish outside look amazing and they're coloring up from the sun and they look great. And I wanted it, why can't I just do that inside, right? So I started playing around with UVB bulbs, not like T8s and stuff, not even just the LEDs. And I couldn't replicate being in the real sun in terms of growth and coloration and everything. And so in general, what I find is an LED version is usually even worse than like a T8, just when it comes to like ultraviolet lights, just like a sterilizer and that kind of stuff. So I'm hopeful, like I would love for it to work, but I haven't been able to crack the code yet. And I haven't tested more than like a few different versions over the course of like 5 or 6 months, so but there also are some, like the wrong black light will blind your fish. Technically, if you got raging amounts of UV, you could start having skin issues and other things. So yeah, but I want to crack that code because I do enjoy that coloration. So I just ordered the shirt. The Rap Dog 2's got it. Ooh, I wonder if I can watch real time how many shirts we've sold. Let me see. I used to do this way back in the day. We would do these live streams and we would put stuff on sale, which was the worst way, by the way. Whenever I looked at the metrics, it'd be like, cool, so I live streamed way longer, and after discounts and everything, we made less money. Like, it was kind of a terrible thing, but that's what everybody was doing. So looks like we sold, I don't know where we started, but now I will. So now I will know how many we've sold by the end. But yeah, it wasn't great. One of my fancy smanchy lights, UVB, and I'm not convinced it's doing anything but consuming power. I also really haven't seen reptile people take onto it either. So yeah, if the light, if you got a fancy smanchy light and it comes with it and you're not seeking it out and paying extra, sure, but I wouldn't go out of my way to spend extra on it. I guess that's where I'm at with this. Like, yeah, in fact, I've been playing with a lot of stuff lately, just because, like, one, am I going to endorse another light company until we manufacture our own again and that kind of stuff? And so I pulled out like one of the, I don't even know how to say it, Chihiros. The lights are like $4 billion that I bought. I bought one of the 3-footers, and it's insane amounts of par, but I hate the light spread. It literally is just like up and down. So I don't like that. It doesn't fill a tank. So I'm not a fan of that. And it's just the way it makes colors pop on fish, which is nice, but the intensity you got to do. So in testing, for it to look halfway decent, it's 200 par. And that is going to be an algae fest. You really have to go after super planet tank, really dial it in to utilize that. So then if you turn it down with the app, then your tank looks pretty dim visually. And it's like, well, that's not what I want either. And then because the light is so up and down, you have to move the light to the front to get your fish to look good. And so, yeah. But I've been playing with lots of different stuff all around. Just trying to find new products to tell you guys about, really. When will we be getting more moss balls? my guess is going to be another long time again. It'll probably be, waiting for someone to really restart a lake full of mossballs. Love the new coin look. Yep. It makes it easy to go, hey, you're a 1 year member. Hey, you're a 2 year member. And then if you're under the year mark, you get the green 6 months, like Bond Boy 008. Makes it a little bit easier at a glance, which is nice. Before it was, Lee Lead is new, so he's got the Murphy logo, but that Murphy logo, it was really hard to discern between, is that 3 months, 6 months, 3 years type of deal. So yeah, the reflectors help a lot on the Chihiros, but they're sold separately for some dumb reason. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This light is $1 billion, but they're using like real metal and aluminum, and you can feel the build quality. But man, is it expensive. And like I was looking at a 6-footer, just like maybe the 800-gallon tank, and I think it was literally $600 and some dollars. And I was like, oof. I'm hard pressed to think that the light will be that much better than what my lights are doing right now. So, we'll see. Just doesn't hurt to play with stuff. And I figure part of what I do is try and relay the opinion I have on a product for you guys. And if you like other stuff I have an opinion on, maybe my opinion will be the same. So if you will never ship internationally, will I ever get my membership coins? Potentially not. However, we did bring it up in a meeting. We're not deploying it right now, but in a previous live stream, fans had great ideas, and that was to ship coins to continents and then reship from there out to members, and logistically getting that going. We just need to go, hey, who's got bandwidth? Who's got... mostly bandwidth to fully research and figure out what we're getting into before we actually deploy it. And right now, no one's really got that bandwidth. We're about every section of Aquarium Co-op right now has got new initiatives. Like Candy's in here right now, and she's lead of customer service, and we are now answering way more comments on Facebook. We are taking direct messages on Facebook and taking direct messages on Instagram. And so all of that's filtering into customer service and making sure that we handle all of that. So, that's just one avenue that we're in that department, for instance. And we're really trying, there's more email initiatives, there's more, retail initiatives, and I'm really trying to step into my role more. And that is kind of meet with these teams and go, great, can we work on that? And let me know what we get done. And so we're doing that in marketing as well, which that probably doesn't sound very interesting because you're like, oh, good, more ads. But marketing is way more than just ads. It can be like what the marketing team does. So yes, we'll create a YouTube video, that's marketing, or a live stream just like this. And okay, when's the merchandise going to drop? But marketing's also working on the packaging, right? So we got to market it like, hey, how do we make the label for this fish food that's going to come out? And how do we want to convey that? And then also it'll be like, what about flyers for in the retail store and then other people's retail stores? And then, yes, emails that are happening, and, just basically any way we're communicating with anything is going through marketing pretty much. And the more we do, the more that's just more. Like, oh, wow, it's like so now that we have like a wholesale division forming, it's like, okay, well, they have asks, right? And they have asks of like, hey, we need an item, to show stores how to use something, right? And so like, okay, we'll get that on the list. We'll see what we can do. What would I recommend for painting curbs in front of your office? I'm still stuck fixing up my place. I want to be with the fish. Is it white or yellow? I would probably go with yellow, only thinking that white will probably show more crud. So like in the Northwest, we get a lot of algae / moss growing. The yellow will also grow that, but I feel like it doesn't show as bad. Kind of the same thing. Like this shirt is a natural color. If we do just white, it shows every little bit of dust, every little bit of aquarium grunge that you could get on it. And so having it be not just stark white. Actually, I only make them this color because they match my dog hair. Just picked up on the Enjoy Nature Daily hat. Well, thank you, Hernandez. Kyle's been around a long, long time. I wish there was almost like another thing, like a color based on show, like, oh man, they've been subscribed to this channel for 7 years. One of my angelfish swallowed one of my autos. Oof, it's been stuck in its mouth for a few days now. How do I get the auto out, or should I just wait longer? It's never coming out on its own. I shouldn't say never, but usually you got to cut it out, and that's not fun. So what happens, depending on, is it head first or tail first, kind of doesn't matter. Both ways, the pectoral fins, when you pull, I guess if it's head first, which usually it's not, but if it's tail sticking out, as you pull the pectorals, they're just it's like a hook, it just hooks in more. So what you have to do, unfortunately, is you have to get in there with scissors, and you're going to need, like, you might have to go to like a drugstore and go, hey, I need, like, I don't want to call them surgical scissors, but you need, like, I know I've used aquarium scissors and stuff, which I don't prefer, but hopefully something blunt-ended, but narrow enough to get them in the mouth, and you kind of got to, like, almost cut fins and pieces. And then I usually use aquarium tweezers, so, like, all right, let's try to get that out. It's traumatic. It's not fun. Usually it's goldfish that I'm cutting them out of. When I was working at the retail store, that was a fairly common one. So I assume the goldfish mouth is a little bit bigger than the angelfish mouth, but give that a try. And my advice for you is going to be get some stress coat or something with aloe vera as a dechlorinator, and coat your hands in that. At least the hand that you're holding the fish with, so you're not just rubbing off the slime coat and your hand's not just sandpaper on their scales. So yeah, and then a little bit of snipping and pulling and snipping and pulling and hoping for the best. And then I would go ahead and if you have a quarantine tank, get that fish into the quarantine tank and use some antibiotics, because it's likely that there are lesions inside the mouth from just fins and stuff like that. And then stuff can happen on the outside too, just even though we're using the aloe and everything. Yeah. So all of that, not fun, and but doable usually. Let's see here. What plants would you recommend growing to sell in tanks that are breeding angels and cories and bristlenose? So I want to be able to net and pull baby fish and plants without destroying the ecosystem in a 50, 40, 29, and 10. Really, because you want to breed all this fish, you want to catch fish all the time, you're going to be pretty limited. I would say things like Java moss, like good quality Java moss that doesn't have algae on it, stores always need more of. You don't always make a ton off it, and it grows pretty slow, but that's a solid one. Ones that don't ship well, so that would be Guadalupensis nagus, so guppy grass, water sprite, frog bit, redroot floater, salvinia. Trying to think of some other stuff. All those floaters are easy because you can kind of like scoop them into a bucket and catch all the fish, put them back if you want. That's kind of easy mode. Just don't get duckweed mixed in with them. That's kind of, now you've got, I've got a decent plant. And then you're better off like making Dixie cups or something and portioning them out. Because if you're just like, here's a giant bucket of plants, they just kind of go like, sure, how about $10 or pick a number, right? Where if you portion it out, all of a sudden it would be a lot more probably. But because you're doing that work, they'll be able to sell it a lot easier, which means they'll be asking you for more sooner, right? And then you can also create pieces. What I mean by that is maybe you buy little pieces of lava rock or something from like a Home Depot and super glue gel, and you make tiny Java ferns on lava rock, Anubias on lava rock, Bulbitis like this on lava rock. Bulbitis is one of the plants that make the most money. They grow super slow, but like this amount of Bulbitis in here is probably $400 to $500 worth at retail, if not more. You can basically have like 1 or 2 leaves in a pot or attached to lava rock, and it'll sell for like $15 at a retail store because it's hard to get it fully submerged, correctly identified, and just in any quantities. But being on the rocks and stuff, that means, hey, you could kind of take them out, put them into a bucket, and catch the stuff you need because you're still breeding the fish. So those are some ideas that work with what you're trying to pull off at the same time. Oh, here we go. Business question. Do you still personally manage all the technology and InfoSec practices and policies? How many different apps and systems would you say it takes to run the co-op? Am I in charge of all of it? Not all of it. A lot of it. So there's like the website for the most part, I'm highly involved in. And then we have developers that we contract out, maybe to build like if you're a member, you're saving 5% on the website. Well, that sync had never been done before with Google ever before we pioneered it. And so that cost us tens of thousands of dollars, and eventually we got that going. And then there's things like, Randy's really good with basically SQL reports, and I can go, hey, I need this data crunched from these 7 different sources. And so we use kind of a data aggregator that builds builds databases, and then we pull from those databases, and then we can make these super advanced reports. So with, a couple days heads up, I could go, hey, Randy, I want to know what's the defect rate on every plant by state, by time of year, by average order value, and like another thing. And we can crunch all of that data for the past 5 years and go, here it is. Here's exactly how it looks. And we can also know how many were defective at the store, how many were defective that came into our warehouse by which farm, right? 3-4 different farms. And so those tech stacks a lot of times will start with an idea at the top of the company, and then we start figuring out how we deploy it. And so that could be like when we needed to know what plant from what farm had which defect for which customer at what time of year. Well, that meant we made custom plant tags for every single farm, and we had them go into the plants so that we could track them. And for a long time, one of the reasons why we ask you if you ever have a problem, like, can I get a picture of your plant? One, we want to verify that it's actually something's wrong with it, so there's that. But also, like, the pot or the tag or the thing will help us trace it back to a farm in a batch. And that lets us know, like, yeah, when they came in, yeah, maybe they're working their best. And so that helps us decide, like, for most of the summer, we were overnighting plants. So spending like an extra $600 to ship like 4,000 plants to us. And we saw that because of doing that, there was less plants that would come into us that would have problems, which meant less problems to you guys. And so, yeah, and then there's like marketing, or not marketing, but like there's a tech stack even for customer service, right? And so while I oversee it and usually deploy it, now Candy's implementing features and things like that. And it's her job to go, hey, there's an update. This thing looks like it might be applicable for what we're doing. So that way, maybe it has something to do with marketing or somewhere else in the business. So like, it doesn't always have to affect the part of the business you're in. And the higher you go up in the company, the more you're like, hey, that'd actually be amazing. So for instance, it could be as simple as, let's tag all of the retail partner stores in, the system. If they send a customer service inquiry, have the system we run automatically divert that question to somebody in the wholesale part of the business. And so it bypasses the rest of the customer service, and it takes a few different systems all doing their part so that will happen naturally and fluidly. And sometimes there's just, and like, so for instance, we want to exclude people from emails, right? If you're a wholesale customer, you don't want to hear about what's going on in our retail store necessarily, and vice versa. So all these little systems working together, things go wrong. I've been working with an app and an app developer so that we can apply discounts automatically at the retail store. So in theory, if you sync up your account because you're a member here, as long as you give us your phone number or your email, once we pull up your account, we hit a button and it'll automatically discount. It'll automatically, if you buy 10 or more fish, discount that at 10%. The rest would be 5%. And so we're not slowing down the lines, right? So that started out with like the lines are getting long or taking a long time to check people out. Well, and if you have to stack all these discounts and make all these things happen, that would slow everybody down. And so now we've been working with an app. So it's one button click, apply the appropriate discounts to any of the items, no matter what we got going on, whether you're a Greater Seattle Aquarium Society member, you're a club member up on here, you're an employee, maybe you got an employee discount, maybe you're an influencer, you got an influencer discount, maybe you're buying 10 or more fish. And then there's a few other ones I'm actually working on right now with the team to figure out, are we deploying those? There'll be a run on Balbitis. There should be a run on Balbitis always. There's always a run on Balbitis. Well, ethically sourced Balbitis. A lot of Balbitis out there that's sold is just taken from the wild in Africa and not done sustainably. So not all of it though. We, from time to time, we can get some that hasn't been, but not very often. So we try when we can. Let's see here. In a well-planted tank, can shrimp live with a pair of Apistos and a 20 long? Before I do something wrong. I've done it, but I would always recommend breed them in a different aquarium, get a bunch of shrimp going, then bring over like 10 to 20 of those things in a well-planted tank and see how they do. I wouldn't go out and buy 10, put them in the tank, and then if they eat them, that's a problem. So I guess it's gonna sound weird, but I only gamble with the house's money, right? So like you get your original set, you breed them, and then you take those like gains, and I'm willing to try. And that's how I find like I wonder if these fish will have a problem. Like, well, I've got 500 of them now. Let's try 10. Oh, let's go. Now they're breeding in there. Okay, let's try them over here. And it's not so devastating when you lose them. And at the end of the day, like shrimp are basically just food in the wild. Not that I'm like, feeding them to like a meat grinder, eat more, but I like it because they clean and they add a visual element to the tank. So I see I can't buy the Med Trio any longer on the website. Is that just temporary? Yeah. Fritz is running behind on meds, and we're probably out at this point of the 20 count Paracleanse, even though we've had an order in forever and a day. And that app stack, the one that handles bundling of stuff, have some quirks about it, and I don't want to accidentally oversell. So we took it offline for now, and the minute it comes back, and well, I guess I could check now. I highly doubt it arrived this weekend, but more like a Monday type of thing is when I would expect it. I'm not expecting it Monday, but Monday through Friday is typically when big multi-pallet shipments arrive at the warehouse. So, yeah. But no, temporary. Should be just temporary. Thanks for answering. Data-driven decisions are where it's at. SQL is my favorite query language. I could ask 10 more questions, but I'll leave it to the fish. Yeah, data's very powerful, and it's hard to get data all playing with each other. So even though everything's got its own analytics, to get it to work together and pull these, it's just, most of the time it's just, I wonder like how many people have bought plants from us but have never bought Easy Green. And the answer to that's like 33,000 people out of 200 and some thousand. So, but just knowing that, now we can go, okay, well, can we tag them? And so, yes, we can tag you. So now we can go, hey, you have bought plants and you have not bought Easy Green. And now when you buy plants, let's go ahead and send you an email a few weeks after you buy plants and go, hey, have you considered buying Easy Green? Do you know what it is? Type of deal. Because when we reach out kind of one-on-one, they're like, oh, I just didn't know. Or they go like, I have Flourish. And it's like, yes, do you understand that Flourish and, like using Flourish is getting a pepperoni stick at the gas station. where Easy Green is like a Michelin star restaurant. Michelin star. Yeah, it's just like worlds different. Like they're both food technically, but one's a greasy pepperoni stick. Which, don't get me wrong, sometimes you need a greasy pepperoni stick. Stefan, or is it Stefan or Steven? P Aquatic says, email subject, how dare you? That's right. Yeah, but some of that, like really all that comes down to is when you start having tons of data and you want to identify the holes of just like, oh, we're just not doing a good job at trying to get people to buy Easy Green, even though they're buying our plants. And they might be buying our plants and our root tabs, and we're watching them buy like stem plants and not have Easy Green. And then we can see like, oh, they email us a month later going, hey, my stem plants are dying. And so we were trying to get better and better at just identifying those things and preemptively going, hey, let's set you up for success, because maybe they've had great success with crypts and swords, and now they're getting pogo and some baby tears, and then they're not really getting enough food and they're not thriving. And so we should be able to, even though it's on the website, it's on the like, here's what it needs, here's what this needs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, not everyone gets to read everything. So I love the Flu Ball 3.0 light. I love it, or I have it and I love it, and so do my plants. It's a good light. Yeah, I wish they were back at the original price. Like we sold it long enough. We were their number one dealer for a long time. Back when it was like 150 or 160 for the 4-footer was kind of a sweet spot. At is it 220 now? 240? 220, I think. It's rough. I think I can't select Puerto Rico to ship your products. Yeah, it's something I asked about this specifically in a meeting like 2 weeks ago. I was like, what's stopping us from shipping to Puerto Rico again? And it basically came down to UPS doesn't do it. And so now that, and looking at data, Puerto Rico would have been like 0.25% of sales, right? It's like unfortunately, a very small amount. And we'd have to have a second carrier pickup every day and change all of the processes to make that happen. And unfortunately, it probably won't happen until there's another big need for like, oh yeah, USPS with this and that. Then now all of a sudden we lump that together and go, hey, that's big enough. Boom, there we go. Candy has a better answer. Yeah, UPS considers Puerto Rico international shipping, and then therefore it becomes like $1 billion. Steven says it's pronounced Steven. You'll get it eventually. I believe in you. Well, it'll be one of those trolls of, it'll always be Stefan in my mind. Someone had an idea and it's not wrong. Let's see here. Where was it? Basically, they said, like, why not have 5 milliliters of Easy... Yeah, here it goes. Corey, you could supply a 5 milliliter sample of Easy Green with each plant order. Potentially, yes. The problem would be, what if they had a 75-gallon tank? That's not even one dose. And to me, what I hate is, like, when we worked with Extreme Closer, they would have these little packets of food, right? And, like, that packet of food is not even a full feeding for this tank. And I don't think you can actually decide whether you like or don't like something like that with so little. So I would, well, what we do right now, if you don't know, is we refund anyone's money who's not happy in the first 30 days. So my sales pitch is buy Easy Green, try it for 29 days. And if you're not seeing it's better than Flourish and other companies, and you don't like it, let us know. We'll refund your money. We'll only do that once. Like, you can't just do that every month, obviously. But there's so much that the consumers just don't know. They don't know that, oh yeah, that competitor one that looks very similar, like their nitrogen is ammonia, and you can have problems. If your pH is above 6.8, you're dosing ammonia into your aquarium. Ours is like specifically not made with ammonia to not have that problem. So yeah, there's not only just like, is it densities and formulation and more for your money. There's what is it made of. There is ease of dosing. With like with the Flourish line, it's like, oh yeah, this one is 1 milliliter per 7. This one's 1 per 12. This one's 3 times a week. That one's 2 times a week. This one here is 1 per 30. There's all of those things. And then so back to the original 5 milliliter sample. One, I don't think that's enough. So that's a bummer. And then two, it's actually packaging itself is crazy expensive. So, like, how do I explain that? But like a little sample like this, it's probably $3 for just the packaging. And that, like, and then you go to like, what about this bottle? How much is this? You're like, oh yeah, that's $1.50 in packaging. Like, what? And I don't know, for some reason that stuff kind of works that way. And so then we got to buy a billion of them. And then also the tech stack would be only give them free Easy Green if they haven't already gotten free Easy Green and they haven't bought Easy Green before. Because if you just go, hey, every order gets Easy Green, then that's just way too many little packages ruining the environment. Whereas, like, at least the liner is protecting the environment in some way. Like if we ship a plant and it dies, we ship it again, that's worse for the environment. So it's, some things are kind of neutral of like, yeah, it's a benefit here and a loss here. Some of it's just kind of too far outweighed. Yeah, there's lots of ideas though. Like, what about offering a coupon to an RPP store? Like, hey, go get Easy Green, go try it, go do something. There's a million ideas, but deploying them, getting everybody on the same page, letting people know, all of those things are very important. So, yeah, we're trying. Want to shout out the super friendly, very knowledgeable, wicked fast customer service team. Yes, we even answer stuff on the weekends. Most are Monday through Friday. We are 7 days a week. I think we end at 2 p.m. West Coast time, so 5 p.m. Eastern. But we do try very hard to answer your questions as fast as possible. There's a little bit of lag time sometimes when you have very specific questions for specific people. Like retail, like, oh, I need to speak to the retail manager about this fish that they want to buy and all of that. That can take a couple days because maybe they have days off and that kind of stuff. But in general, we handle a lot of incoming comments and questions and things. And we try real hard to be, well, mostly respect your time. I hate bad customer service. And I try to make sure we have the least amount of it possible. We can't always be amazing on everything. Sometimes we have to be the bad guys and go, sorry, we can't help you. Graham, cool, you're late. You got to buy this shirt. Only if you love Planet Tanks. Let's see. Do you have dwarf plecos? And if so, any advice on their setup? I do. I have dwarf Claro LDA 08s. They only get about this big, and they're a bristlenose type. You pay about $35 a piece for them, and they breed like normal bristlenose. They just take forever to grow, and they don't sell very well because people go, this thing's $35? That sounds like a scam. Let's see. I keep seeing the catch cup on the streams. Wait, the cup cap? Oh, this thing. Yeah. This thing right here. Are they coming soon? Love my Easy Green, but not a fan of the pump top. Yeah, they are. I don't know specifically. I think on this product, it'll be in the next 3 months, we're hoping. So maybe by the end of the year. On Easy to Chlorinator, once we unveil it, should have it. Those are actually using 2 different manufacturers, so that's why I'm trying to. There's something else, like, is it just still on the way? I can't remember exactly why. Mostly there's always like multiple things. Like when you're working with different manufacturers and stuff, like, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? Where are we at on this? Like we launched another new product, kind of incognito. We have the small version of Easy Iron now. So if you have nano tanks and you've been using the smaller version of Easy Green, we now have the dropper version of Easy Iron. And then I think we already deployed. Did we already release the small version of Easy Potassium? Or is that still on the way? Nope, we got that. So now we have those 3 all in the smaller droppers. So if you're just, you know, oh, I only got one 10-gallon or one 5-gallon tank. You can technically, you don't have to buy all the Gigantotron jars. And we are, I don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I said that one. I don't release that one yet. I'll start a whole customer service war on accident. Co-op has the best customer experience I've ever experienced. That's our goal. My goal is first and foremost, like, for all the things that I could be doing wrong and the company could do wrong, as long as it's not bad customer service. Like, there's always, like, shipping can have a problem, an employee can have a bad day, Corey can make a bad video, Corey can get irritated in a live stream, all of those things. Yes, you can hate on us for that, but the direct rule basically for the company is always try and make it right for the customer. Like, just make it right. Like, if there's any room to go, yeah, let's find a clever solution to make this right, we will do it, within the bounds. Every once in a while, it's like, yeah, we just got to fire that customer. Like, this has gone too far out of the bounds to be helpful for them. Is there an RPP, retail partner store, in North Carolina? Let me look. We are actively working on adding more and more. Before we weren't. Now that we have someone working on it full time, it doesn't look like it. Looks like that's a goose egg of nope. Oh, wait. Yes, there is. Wait. Nope. I lied. It's technically right on the border of Virginia. And that would be Bubble Aquatics and Exotics. And it's right on that line, though. So, technically nobody in North Carolina yet. It's only a matter of time, though. Yeah, we're up to 156 plus 7. That's 160. I'm pretty sure. Oh, not everyone's submitted. That's why. I think we're at 170 some stores. How good is the chlorinator after the expiration date? I think as long as you haven't like left the cap off, it's dang near forever. In my experience, I've had like bottles of Prime that were 15 years old that I'm like, let me try it. Worked fine. Stinks the same. Didn't lose that stink. Could barely tell there's ever algae in that aquarium. So this big plant was in a 40 breeder over there. And, well, you probably saw it in the video. If you saw the video, it's covered in hair algae. These longfin rosy barbs are awesome. And I was actually Googling it yesterday, and I was like, so if rosy barbs are really good hair algae eaters, what other barbs are probably low key? Like, because I was trying to remember, like, I don't remember seeing hair algae in the 800 gallon when I had tiger barbs. So I was thinking about gold barbs, tiger barbs, cherry barbs. I don't think are doing it, but I'm thinking any of these bigger barbs. I wonder if most of them, because like tinfoil barb stuff will just straight up eat plants. And so I'm wondering, like, there might be a whole group of fish that we have just kind of glossed over and haven't documented well. What if it turned out that for the most part, barbs were super good at eating algae, hair algae? So I kind of thought about testing that. Is this hat I'm wearing right now a snapback? No, this is actually, I think I had this custom made. Did I? Yeah. I actually have this custom made because my head is so big that our fitted hats, I have to stretch them like ridiculous. So I wear a 7 3/4 hat, which is stupid. I literally have been to hat stores before where I was like, yeah, I wear a 7 3/4. And like, oh. And they're like, they had to look up in the system, like, there's only 2 hats in this store. And it would be just like, yeah, we got one Denver's Bronco hat, and we've got, like, they like clearing off the dust. And like, yeah, the 76 Pacers hat over here. Like, that's it. Like, oh, good. Yeah, but oh no. Hopefully I didn't crash the stream there. There we go. The snapback on something like this, they go wider and easier, so it's not a problem if I swap it out. It's always hard to get my hat to sit right in proximity to the camera, but I like a full back hat for when it gets colder. I like this one. So the problem is my hair gets too long, it sticks out and looks funny. No retail partners in Northeast Tennessee either. Well, I kind of want to start this like grandma revolution. So we used to do it where get all your grandmas to watch the live streams, and we would get it was pretty fun in my opinion. The grandma army, as I called it. And so I kind of want the grandma army for the RPP. What we see happens is like the stores that want to be a part of us, they eventually hit critical mass. Everybody assumes I'm not going to talk to them. Like what? Just me asking if they carry the stuff isn't going to do anything. But what happens is you get 2, maybe 3 people asking that store, and now they're like, "Why do people keep asking?" And then when we reach out to them, then they go, "Yeah, actually, people have been asking for it. Like, who and what do you do?" And so that kind of paves the way for us to be like, "Yeah, let's let's show you what we do." And so you guys make actually a huge difference, which it seems like cliche, but you actually have a lot of power. So if you've got a good store, because if it's a crappy store, we won't sell it to them. So if it sucks, don't waste your time, but you probably wouldn't go there. So if you got a store that you like going to and you're like, I actually love what they're doing, you can tell them, hey, if you were to carry Aquarium Co-op products, then I would buy them from you. And after they hear that a couple of times, they got to, it's got to be the owner or someone that can make a decision. But after they hear that for a while and they see, like maybe they see a competitor store, they see it online, or they see an ad or whatever, all those little touch points stack up, and then maybe they will. And so what we're seeing is there's more than just the products. So like what we don't advertise a whole lot to you guys is that every month we send them a newsletter and I film a video for the stores. And it's not just like, thanks for selling our crap. It's something important like, here's why I think you should quarantine. Here's why I think you should do this. Here's how we do this. So each month there's another video that I do dedicated to my 15 years of working in retail stores on what we're doing and what helps a lot of people and maybe programs they can run and things like that. So not only would they sell our product, but if they start watching the videos, you might go, oh, wow, look, they're using the quarantine trio and they're quarantining all their fish now, and maybe they weren't before. Or, hey, they're doing this thing. And so that's been awesome to see when you see like, oh, wow, other stores are having great luck quarantining their fish with this meds and all of that, even though we don't sell them the meds. I mean, well, actually, we do wholesale some of the meds, but that's not like our main thing. So, yeah. Bad Fish in South Florida is where I found, or where I get your products. Love that store. I think she was number 2. Kang Lee of Twin Cities Guppies was number 1. Because we weren't, a lot of that stuff, we try stuff all the time, and it's like, let's just see if this is even a good idea. And a lot of programs are like, nope, not a good idea, abandon. And some are like, actually, it's kind of working. I think they could work. And, and as you gain skills, and like now that we're in Kentucky, it's like maybe frozen foods do make sense to sell to stores. Maybe? Don't know yet. No retail partners in Fresno, California. California's got a lot of density. We have 20 stores in California. The problem is California's got so many people that in California, when there's not someone in yours, like, so I'm looking at California and Fresno right now. The closest is going to be Aqua Nature Aquarium in Bakersfield, or maybe, no, it's probably that one. And that's not that close. But you got to hit up your stores. If you have fish stores there, hit them up. And you could also tell them like, hey, there's 20 stores in California selling Aquarium Co-op, and you're in Fresno and there's nobody around you. That seems like a good idea. Barbara says, I'm doing a dark start with 88 aquasoil. The first week, the ammonia spiked, and now it's almost gone. No nitrites, but 20 to 40 parts per million of nitrates. What are the suggestions? I would change a little bit of water if you're afraid of that. Otherwise, just keep going with it. Yeah. I think I have a planned video coming out. Yeah, it hasn't come out yet. I actually talk about ADA soil and the pros and cons and all of that. I talk about all the soils. So my goal was cover lots of stuff about plants if you're new to it or just want to learn more about it. Um, and then at the end, I give, here are my preferences. So I even talk about dirted tanks. I talk about all the stuff. And it's like an hour-long video. And so hopefully that'll help situations like that. Because, yeah, I talk about some of the pros and cons. ADA soil runs pretty hot, pretty expensive. Once you get through the ammonia spike, though, it feeds those plants really well until you hit that 18-month to 3-year mark, somewhere in there, of like, oh, no, I'm running out of nutrients. And you either have to supplement it or replace it or do something like that. And that's the part that hurts of like, once you know, like, oh, but you can grow plants without paying $300 in soil. Oh, maybe I do that. But depends on what you're trying to do. If you're doing a competition, you don't care. Just do it. Let's see. Morning, everyone. Can you maybe do refills for Easy Green in retail stores? Maybe. We're working on a bigger size that can actually ship and all that. We do have bigger sizes that go to stores, but it's not a refill program. And then when it's, we want to make sure that we're being good to the stores. So refills, for instance, could be time consuming, could be messy. We want to protect you. So like, there's not really any way I could guarantee someone wouldn't dilute it down. Now, I'd like to believe none of our RPP stores would do that, but as we grow, how could I really guarantee that? But it's not off the table either. I've watched programs like that. I've watched other, like CChem did one like that, and Hikari did one where you could buy 5-gallon dechlorinator things. And from doing it, the refill system, on paper, you're like, we should do this. This is great. In practice, you're just getting a lot of it on the floor because you're filling it in like overfills. They're trying to talk to you. This is happening. That's happening. The last, third of a gallon's kind of stuck in that container. You're trying to get it out. All of those types of things. And then at the end, you're just like, yeah, and you save like $1 maybe. But it costs your employees $3 in time. So if I was to do something like that, knowing that I've been down that road before, I would have to make that experience a lot better before deploying it to all the stores and then just having to go, why'd you do this? And I also don't want to have it where, oh, well, Corey said you can come in and get refills and they haven't done it yet. And they're going, oh, it's such a pain. Why would he do this? I hate Corey. So I want to make sure that, Reach out to Pet Cove in Kingsport, Tennessee. So what you want to do is hop on Facebook and tag the store and leave a comment when we make our post once a month. So that kind of gives a heads up to the store and it gives a heads up to our team. And then if you talk to them, all of those things start coming together. But when we reach out cold and we're just like, hey, you're a fish store and we sell fish things, they're just like, yeah, lots of people sell fish things. Get out of here. So if we've warmed it up of like, hey, and we sell stuff where you can actually make money, if we can get them to believe us and they actually look at it and they're like, oh, wait, you guys are being super fair. The minimums for wholesalers, for us included, have been going through the roof. Some of them, I'm just like, how can any real store afford to buy from them? Because their minimums are so high now. It's crazy to me. But what's the new merch? The shirt. The I Love Planet Tank shirt. Boom. I'm going to rock these a lot. Subtle branding at the bottom, the Aquarium Co-op. But I like it. I like it a lot. Dealers be cutting the Easy Green with the flourish. That's right. Well, I mean, I have to look at the sheet again, but it's depending on which version of flourish and everything, it's something like 37 times as strong. You could dilute like 37 times. It still would actually be better than flourish, but that's the strength you'd be getting at like flourish. It's something crazy like that. Like, whoa. I wish you guys sold your products at PetSmarts and Petco's, but I'm thankful you ship. No plans to do any Petco, PetSmart, the big chains. We actually had we do a quarterly meeting. Kind of upper management, and we'll pull in different teams and stuff. But and I posed the question, what would it look like? What would it take if we were going to sell to a chain store? And I said, because there's some amazing chains in Europe. And I said, we talked about it. And, I'm like, Petco, PetSmart, we already know we're not doing that. But I'm like, and I said, I don't really know about it, but what about like a Big Al's in Canada? Or what about, some other one I don't know in Canada? And Randy, to his credit, he said, well, how does that deliver on our main mission objective of Aquarium Co-op, and that's making the hobby better? He said, do you think that like a Petco PetSmart is making the hobby better? And I go, well, no, not necessarily. No, I don't think they're doing that much to make it better. I mean, I think they're selling stuff, but I don't know that they're going out of their way to try and make it better. And so that kind of became the threshold, right? Like we think I think all RPP stores, they're there to make the hobby better. Yes, they're got to make a living, but you're much more likely to find engaged employees and owners that want to see it get better. And that became we'll just reinforce the threshold of like, hey, if they're willing to do that, we're willing, because that's really what it comes down to. We're willing to make less money on our products to sell them to a store if that store will provide you better care and all of that. And yes, it goes back to us too, like having more stores helps us. So it's not only, but the original idea was, we know stores are having a hard time, and the hope is that we can be mutually beneficial. So let's see here. For me, the refills are less saving money as a consumer and more avoiding plastic waste. I would vote in favor of the refill as well. I hear you. What you'll know, what data will show is like, sweet, you are 41% of the market. And then you'll have another 32% that are like, hey, I only buy it because of discount. And then you'll have another X amount for a different reason because they only want to fill their mason jar. And then you'll have another. So there's all these different factors that go into play, and you want to try to appease all of them. And for me, usually it's like, is it better for the hobby? Is it better for the environment if we can do it? Is it better money-wise? Like I try to win on how many things are there? Oh, there's 11 things. Can we win out of on 8 of them? Let's get the most ones we can, knowing that you can't win on everything, right? Because if you want to be the best by the environment, you're like, oh, you just don't make the product. Like, oh, okay, that sucks. But I do think that you try to win as much as you can. So Easy Green on tap at the RPP. That's right. Where was that? I was just reading. I don't know. Oh, I think it was someone was thanking me for up to 4X for shirts. Yeah, I hate when you find something, you're like, oh, sweet, I'd buy that shirt. And they're like, yeah, we go up to 1XL. And you're like, well, that ain't me. And that's my logic. My logic is anyone that needed 2, 3, 4XL, they're even more appreciative. Because someone that wears like a large, you ain't never had a problem getting a large shirt in your life. That doesn't exist. Like every company's like, yes, we make a large. But you start getting to 2X, 3X, 4X, especially that 3 and 4X. There's lots of stuff where you're like, nope, not even in the. It's impossible, and that sucks. So then you buy a hat. Is the new shirt sold in store? I'm local. Yes. So I know that we shipped them, and I believe they've arrived, but I don't have the tracking in front of me. So the answer is yes, and then hopefully yes. If not, maybe tomorrow. But yes, we fully intend to sell them in the retail store. So, my tank is a fry buffet. I have 2 weeks to grow up guppy pond fry before it gets way too cold. Any tips to get them quicker? I've been feeding them 3 times a day. Drop in a heater. Feed them 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day. High quality foods, frozens if you can. And then if you can build any kind of clear top, an old window, old sliding glass door. I cut my hand all up. I don't know if you could look at this slice all the way from a greenhouse panel. I made greenhouse panels for my tanks yesterday. And I pulled one off the rack, and it had some damage and just bleeding all over the place. was so bad I actually wore Band-Aids. And anyone that knows me pretty much must have been near amputation because I don't wear Band-Aids because they just get wet in the aquarium. But as soon as you can get a cover over it, in a real pinch, saran wrap will even do it. It'll trap the heat in. So one, you'll be hotter. You have a longer season outside. You put that heater in, you won't go broke. And you might now get an extra 6 weeks to grow those little guys. And that'll help you a ton. So that's my favorite move. Come on, Aussies. We've got to keep pushing. We'll get an Aussie RPP eventually. Hopefully all fish to you. There's definitely talks. There's, and probably a lot of you are like, all you do is talk. And like, that's a lot of business. A lot of business is talking. Like, okay, yeah, there's lots of meetings to be had to figure stuff out. But there's been a little bit of talk about Australia. Yeah. Let's see here. It's time to demolish some biscuits and gravy. Heck yeah. There's a place in Kentucky. What is it called? Wild Eggs? Is that what it is? Something? You can get 2 types of gravy. Chorizo gravy and normal gravy on your biscuits and gravy. And they got rad biscuits and gravy, let me tell you. A 1-liter bottle of Easy Green would be awesome, especially if the price reflected the size. The same way the 500 milliliter is better value than the drip bottle. Yes, so I can tell you right now we're actively working on a larger size of Easy Green. It will be a better value, and we're trying. Doesn't mean we're trying to source. The most important thing is the bottle right now. We need one that doesn't explode in shipping. So we're finding where we can find this very specific bottle that I saw in Europe, and hopefully they're not $4 billion. And we can find them in a 2-liter. If we can do all of those things, then yes, it will work. But if it can't, then we got to hunt in a different direction. But we're probably 3 or 4 months out because it's got to find it. Who's making them? Can we get them made semi-locally? Do they have to be imported? What's that look like? We got to test quality. Give it beat it with a light. Instead of a baseball bat, I'll use my light. And if it passes all that, then all right, spin it up. We'll take it. Let's see here. Would you ever retail partner store with an individual? I'm in Wasilla, Arkansas, and there's only one real fish store, which is in Anchorage, and they don't sell your products. We won't. And there's been lots of good candidates, but it's just something that I want to make sure we can stay on top of. And so for right now, the answer is no. And I plan to stay no, but there's always maybe something changes. But at the time of this, you have to have a retail storefront. So store expansion update, working on it. The foreman of the HVAC team was out on Friday to mock up where the coring team will drill the holes through the brick for the HVAC system, which is happening after I met with the landlords and after we got it approved with the city. Yeah. So now I'm going to write an email on Monday that says, hey, are we on the schedule yet? You'd think for like 25 grand, you'd get updates, but you don't. The last email literally said, oh, I guess I should have emailed you. Yeah, we'll be out tomorrow to look at where we want to put the holes. And I'm thinking, it took you 10 days to come out? Like, you are in the same city. This can't be more than like an hour's worth of work. Like, you are killing me. My soul. You're killing me. So. Oh, Alaska instead of Arkansas? Yeah, that makes sense. I's dumb and live. Live and dumb at the same time. You need to figure out who makes those Gatorade bottles? Well, that's what I said for Easy Green. I literally said to Randy, and I was like, look, you can basically make a 2-liter bottle that you can drive over, and Gatorade bottles, like, it's not a matter of can it be done. It's like, we need to get it done. Let's find the container that's going to fit our package that's going to work. Let's make it happen. And so now we are working on, it's not, does it make sense anymore? It's like, this is now, we have to do it. Let's find a way to make this work. Who makes a container? Where can we get it? What makes sense? Let's do it. So that's what we're working on. All of those. Full steam ahead. Yeah, I only had really to get the landlords involved because it's through the front of the building. And they just wanted to make sure, like, you got the okay before we drill 4 8.5-inch holes through the front of your retail space? Yep. Let's see here. Since we're talking about Easy Green, do you avoid putting it right where the fish are? I always wondered. I don't. I haven't had any problems when a fish swims through it or anything. I don't think it's in a level that would be bad. Now, maybe there's a few competitors out there that have that ammonia. Like maybe if you poured it in and they, like, for lack of a better term, breathed in at the same time, maybe. But even then, I don't kind of think that's a problem. So. Let's see here. What about making Aquarium Co-op shirts for dogs? Oh, my wife would love that. We've considered that kind of stuff, and basically, it's not our specialty, and so it's not that we can't do it. And I'm learning this more and more as we get to be, I don't know, bigger, better. As we've been in business longer, maybe that's it. The strength in our business actually comes from saying no. There's actually 5,000 ways I can make money. Of like, why not just make this? Like, but then it comes down to saying no to most things until it's really the right thing, right? And so making a dog sweater or a shirt, or getting Easy Green in a bigger size. Like, well, Easy Green is the right move. And there's lots of things on the table like that. Like, why not just do the thing that's more logical and in your wheelhouse? Like, yes, you're right. So let's see. We need Aquarium Co-op t-shirts that fit fish. Obviously, you get a big enough fish, you get a big red-tailed cat. You could probably get the thing in a large. Can we fit a large in a red-tailed cat? Let's see. Get one that's like the neck hole, like a shovel-nosed catfish for this large. Yeah. Aquarium Co-op beach towels. We've thought about beach towels. We've thought about things on the floor so it soaks up water. There's honestly so many things, and the reality is there's only so much money and time to actually make a good thing. So that's what we try to do. Let's see. Co-op shipping supplies would be handy. That's on the list. We've got the heat packs. No one buys them, but it's on the list. Rubber bands and bags and things like that. And so part of it is it's been on a list for a long time, but we only need them for our retail store. But now it's like, wait, if there's 200 stores, now it makes more sense to put more time on testing bags and rubber bands. And then, yes, we can sell them to you, the customer, but we can also sell them to stores, and stores could sell them too. So now that's where something like that's been on the list. All of a sudden it's like, wait, now that we have all these stores, this goes up here on the list. Like that's worth doing now. How about larger size root tabs? Already in the works. Now, physically, a bigger tab. Do I have them? Kicking around right here? Let me see. Nope, those are originals. I was putting them in my 800 gallon. I think they're on top of my ladder. But behind the scenes, we've been testing root tabs for like the last year. And so newer root tabs, when they finally launch, will be larger. I don't know about the counts yet. So we're physically making them bigger. So you're just going to get more fertilizer anyway. But I don't know what the current counts are and the packaging looks like. We're waiting for another die for the manufacturer, which takes forever. So they had to buy a custom machine. Then we've been testing different shapes and that kind of stuff, and how much powder and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're hoping. We're working on it. It's been a long time coming. We do listen to you guys, and you're like, hey, I don't like the way you got to poke a hole in the end to make it sink. Like, I get you. But I also don't want to put out anything like, hey, your new thing sucks. Like, yeah, I didn't test it. So this one, thorough testing, and it's It takes time, right? Even though the formula is crazy similar, I want to make sure it's working. Like there's some in this tank right now. You wouldn't know it, but yeah, they've been and they started out like little pills, and then they went to teardrop shapes and got bigger, and now we've got another thing we're working on. So yeah, so there'll be tablets as Candy's saying, not capsules. But yeah, there's a lot of things in works that we're, some of these have been year-long projects, but we're getting real close on a lot of them. So when are nets going to go back in stock? Probably won't. Officially, we've discontinued them. We're trying out some new nets. We're thinking like, do we make the old nets better? Do we just not even sell nets? Nets are a nightmare to ship. And then people buy like 1.5 ever. So unlike so many things in the hobby, you have multiple of them, but you can have a whole fisherman like, yeah, I own 3 nets. You're like, you own 70 aquariums. You own 3 nets? Like, oh man. So it's a hard market. Love that shirt. We'll definitely be ordering it. That's right. Love it. You love to see it. Let's see. Did we sell any yet? We sold some. Let's see. All right. I think we've sold 20 some-ish, maybe. Usually what I see, and I love watching, this is my favorite part, is like eating dinner and then watching, because a lot of people right now, you're either working in your tank or you're building a cart of stuff you want to order. And then after the live stream, you're like, well, I better place that order. And it's kind of awesome to watch it come through. And then our employees are super busy on a Monday and all that fun stuff. So I enjoy it. I'm always thankful to see it. You love to see it. Lorianne, by the way, super contributor in the Facebook. See her all the time. Yeah, I've got like 15 nets. Yeah, for whatever reason. Are they going to be like the JBL tabs? I love the giant clay balls. I don't think I've ever used the JBL tabs, so I don't know. I actually haven't seen those ones. Let's see. Sounds like you're focusing on strategy and your buy box. Excellent. Check out Cody Sanchez, another YouTuber who's big concept strategist. You can totally steal her 100 hours of research on small business. I like that. Something to listen to. That's what I'm listening to. Like, what do you watch on YouTube? I'm listening to business stuff while I'm working on the aquariums. That's mostly what I do. And because it's like, I don't need to know that. But every once in a while, like, oh, that's kind of a good idea. I should think about that. And so mostly just, I've been spending a lot of time because Dan's coming over, but I'm really trying to get tanks doing what I want them to do. I've got fish coming in this week, so that's good. And yeah, just looking around. I'm looking at them right now going, getting better and better. Getting better and better. Did a $350 order just now. Forgot the shirt. Oh, man. You could always you could email and ask for an add-on. Candy's technically off work right now, but someone would probably, and I say probably because it's not always 100%, but someone would probably get to it before the morning. Yeah. Although there's someone to add it on, then you'll get an email that says you got to pay for it, then it could get added on. All those things got to happen before our crazy efficient team get cracking in the morning. We'll be adding tissue cultures of different plants that you don't have currently. Probably. In the latest conversation I had, we're going to be part of a prototype program with those tissue cultures and different ways to store them and grow them and sell them and stuff at the warehouse. But we're waiting for follow-up. So, things are in evolution. Yeah. I have the nets and they were a bit of a pain, but the spacing and the webbing is perfect for catching fast fish. I know. I still haven't broken one, and a lot of people have. And I got the prototypes to make them even more unbreakable. And so there's a chance Like it makes, this is an item that'll probably make more sense when we have 500 stores. And it's like, wow, we'd sell this many nets because we got to buy like 10,000 of each size. And that has been a like 5 or 6 year supply of these things. But if you have 500 stores, maybe it's like, oh, we only got to store them for like a year and a half. We also have some more room now too, so we'll figure it out. Long term, we'll figure it out. Does channel have to turn on mobile gifting to work on mobile? It should be a little thingy. Like if someone donates one, I think it pops up with a thing that says like enable it for you. And I think the reason being, when I talk to YouTube, the reason why you have to opt in is they could be in like gamer channels or other stuff where stuff behind the paywall isn't like kid friendly and that kind of stuff. Was their logic? I kind of went, I guess I see that, but like, how many things are that much worse behind the paywall than in the public? But what do I know? There's a lot of YouTube out there that I don't even know exists. What business YouTubers do you recommend? I just took over as controller for my company and was thinking about looking for some. It's hard. I think I'll name some, but I wouldn't be like, this is going to change your life. I think let me back up. I think putting yourself in the headspace of business YouTubers gets you thinking a certain way, and an idea that has no applicability to your business might spawn something that is highly applicable. Lately, I've been watching a decent amount of Alex Hormozy, which, there's going to be people like, oh, how dare you type of thing, but it's very specific things, and it's mostly I want to see when he's working with other business owners, like where it's like a group setting and then their problems or things they found that have worked sometimes resonate with what I've been doing. I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff lately, like on YouTube, and what is his name? Padaway is his last name. I can't remember the first name. I'm looking at my feed right now to go, is there anything in my feed that I've been watching? Yeah, not really. Mostly Alex, but it'll be that, and then some Professor Charlie T, which is, it does Facebook stuff, and I like half it's amazing and half it's like, yeah, I don't know about that. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Getting into some Slack groups with other business owners. Like if you can get, like one of the best things you can do in business is be around people the next level up from you. So if you're doing 1 million, hang out with people doing 5 or 10 million. And a lot of times they've solved your challenge at 1 million. Same thing. If you're at 10 million, hang out with people at 20 to 50 million. They've solved a lot of those challenges, and they can help you like, hey, when should I have a HR person? When should I have multiple HR people? When should I have this? When should I go international? When should I do these things? And, or they've done it before. Like, hey, if you launch in Canada, what should you expect? Like, oh, less than 5%. Like, oh, good to know. So, yeah, find some groups to hang out in, I find is beneficial as well. Went to a retail partner store in Framingham, Massachusetts this week. Tropical Isle. Got a big haul of Aquariumcoop stuff for the new office tank, including 2 of those nets. Yeah. I have a feeling I keep bringing it up, and I'm like, I kind of think maybe we'll work on that net more, but it's like, and so from another business type podcast, it's what's called a zombie product. Like it lives on, even though you should kill it, because you have like an affinity for it, and like people are like, yeah, but we love it. But when you look at the money spent versus what you've made and then the shipping of it, you're like, but if you didn't have it tomorrow, you're actually just better off. It's like, yeah, but I like it. So it's a zombie product, which I've learned about from just other business people. And it's like, well, how could you have a product that it just lives on as a zombie? It's actually not good for what you're doing. Like, oh, weird. It'd be the same thing in a restaurant. Like maybe you offer 4 different desserts, but like one of them sells 1 a night. That's a zombie product. Like it shouldn't even be on the menu. The amount of stuff that you'd have to throw out on, a weekly basis and all that, like you're better off not even having that diversity. We were just talking about when you need an HR in our office. It's when the boss is dealing with it. There is no law that I'm aware of. It's a great thing to outsource. We've done all of it. We've had in-house, then we've outsourced. Now we have in-house again, and I much prefer in-house, by the way. But it gets layers complicated, by the way. So if you're just all your employees are in one state, much easier. I think we're up to like 5 or 6 states, and there's different laws in all the states. Our handbook is like a phone book at this point, the employee handbook, because it's got to handle everything you can think of. And so when you have lots of states, the outsourcing thing makes a lot of sense, but it's still better to have someone internally, I think, that they know what your company is, what your products are, what your team is doing, instead of just like reading about it and trying to help you. So what were the issues with the nets? The little, like, the part, like the handle part where it connected to the hoop, some people were able to break that. And then also people were complaining that like the handle would slip on and off, which you just jam it on there and that's good. But then some people jammed it on too far and it would break it. So the latest samples I have, that's actually just like glued on, and then the collar piece is more robust. Yeah. In-house HR seems much less risky. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weird things that, like, HR shouldn't be risky. Like, the hope would be that employees and all of that, like, you're running a business that doesn't need, like, everybody needs HR, but like you shouldn't have crises all the time. But yeah, someone that is invested in going, hey, I noticed this over here is going on, let me look into that. That will happen, versus if you're contracting out and they're not at your locations, they only know what you tell them. So I'm trying to think of something where I was like, oh, what's this? Like, yeah. Are there any sword plants we sell that are harder to care for than any of the others? I'm just about getting ready to plant a sword garden in a 55 with all the types. I mean, maybe people have a little bit more trouble with like micro sword and stuff because it's shorter, but other than that, nah, it's kind of just, if you get one of those swords going, like, they all are going to grow and they all look good. So yeah. It's getting hot in here. I'm going to turn on my fan. What time is it? Okay, we got 30 minutes. Gotta get my fan on. There we go. Yeah, we're legit on the edge of having to make this choice for my business, so I appreciate all the input. I will say this. Having HR department is nice because they have lots of time to research and work with the people and do all of that, and it frees up, like, a guy like me. We can, there was a problem, we looked into it, here's what we think is a good idea, and then I get to hear that and like, yeah, let's do that. So yeah, because a lot of HR is taking lots of meetings, and then you kind of go like, okay, well, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Let's see here. Hit that like button, show the love. Well, all right. Ooh, can I do that? No, I'm not actually watching myself anywhere. Ordered a light from you recently and it was dead on arrival. Dang. But Candy got a replacement shipped out immediately. That is rare. Our light's defect rate is less than 1%. So it's very low, which is all the more bummer that we don't get to keep making it. I'm real sad about that. Like, honestly, real sad. Like, truth be told, lights aren't a good product to make money on at all because they're expensive to ship and they're very costly to keep in stock and all of that. But I just keep thinking about like, what am I gonna do if I need to set up an aquarium? I gotta buy someone else's light. Like I built the light I like the best, so everything is gonna be a compromise. Like that doesn't sound fun. Yeah, Candy says very rare. Yeah, it's because we've got data on every light we've ever sold. Like every product we've sold in the last like 5 or 6 years, we literally have the data on it. So we know, like we know oftentimes before the manufacturers know, because a manufacturer like let's say with Fluval, right? We were the number one dealer for them for lights, and so they might they're shipping to everybody, but almost nobody's tracking. So we'd be like, hey, did you know your defect rate's up by 2% this month? Like, is something going on? And they'd be like, oh, we haven't heard that. I'm like, is anybody else tracking though? Or is it just like, we just haven't heard that yet because no one's watching for it? Because if you only sell 10 lights and the defect rate goes up 2%, you might not see the variance at all. If you're selling 1,000 lights or 5,000 lights in a month, 2%, you'll see the variance. So, and you can compare it for months. Like, yeah, maybe this UPS, like, oh, it's Christmas a little bit. Maybe a little more stuff got damaged in shipping or something. But then you're like, it's just May. Shouldn't be reason for that. And then that's when we find out a lot of secrets of like, oh, you did make a change. Okay, you didn't tell anybody about that. Yeah, you got something going on. Is there a reason that frozen blackworms aren't available in the hobby? Yeah, mostly that it's not very profitable to make them, as in just the worm. So like I think there's 2 farms in all of the United States that make blackworms, and they sell them live, and that's pretty much it. And they can't make enough. So like that's why we stopped selling. We were up to the point where we were buying 30 pounds a week, which was a lot. And then people would become dependent on them, whether it was axolotls or discus or breeding fish or whatever it was. And then they get real angry when we couldn't get them. And it's like, yeah, California is on fire. They're not coming. Nothing we can do. And so, and it was a loss lead thing. It was like, you don't make money basically selling blackworms, but it brought people in. You were like, oh, I need some blackworms and I'll take some frozen bloodworms, or I need blackworms and 6 tetras. So it made sense that way. But, it didn't make sense when you spent all day on the phone. You get blackworms today? Like, no, still none. How about today? Nope, still none. Like, we can only get them once a week. It's been 2 days. Like, not yet. Yeah. Yeah, you sold me on the HR doing the meetings. I'll hear about it after. Yeah, it's I don't want to call it a filter, but there, if you don't have an HR team and you're running the company and you're taking, and it could just be like someone, someone in the family has cancer and they need to take leave, right? Well, you gotta have a meeting with them, and then, oh man, that's terrible. Let me look into what we can do. And then you got to become an expert on what are all the documentation they got to do so they can get this, this leave. And then you got to like follow up on it and do the things. And so there's lots of stuff that, HR, it'd be like, hey, maybe they're working with accounting and maybe they're doing this and that kind of stuff. And like, hey, this person needs to make a change. So they can do kind of a lot of things for you. And then there's always laws and stuff that are changing that you just have no idea about unless you're like watching for it. I'm trying to think of an example of one that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. But they're also updating, OSHA posters and all that kind of stuff too. And yeah, so just making sure you're in compliance with lots of stuff. Only Corey loses sleep over 2% failure. Yeah, so 5% is technically a threshold that we shut it down, and even our own products, and it's because you guys are so supportive and will talk about it that 5% spreads like wildfire. And so because we're open and we'll talk about things and we give you places to talk, like in the chat, in forums, in Facebook group, where pick random other company. If they're having a problem, there's no place for everybody to talk to each other and go, hey, you're having a problem? You having a problem? So it's much easier for them to hide a 12% defect rate, right? And so usually you only hear like, let's say the stealth heaters, right? When they were blowing up. Well, you start getting some blowing up and this and that. And then by the time you're seeing like, yeah, I've seen like 30 different things where they've blown up and done stuff. It was happening a lot more than that. And there's been a lot of products that like they won't pull them because they're like, well, we'd have to pull $1 million worth of this. And it's like, yeah, well then you shouldn't buy $1 million worth. Like, and you should watch quality control. Like that's where we're at. Is there duckweed on this shirt? Yes. Yes, there is. I wish the shirt would have been way more expensive, but we could have put like duckweed around like the sleeves, but then it would have been like a $25 shirt. So shirt ordered. I'll now be way cooler at the next GSAS meeting. No truer words have been spoken. You want to be the coolest guy at your local club meeting? Gotta wear this shirt. What happened to Hikari freeze-dried krill? It's hard to find now. We stopped selling it just because like it was a real slow seller, and we'd have some problems getting it in. I don't know if they have any sourcing problems currently, so I'm not sure. But yeah, just not as big as it was, I guess. Can't wait to order the new shirt. I love the colors. Lots of love from North Carolina. All right. Well, thank you, Audrey. Danny O. Janet says, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. We've had people with their parent passing away and they were going to get paid leave, period. But is there a way to make it less damaging to the business? Yeah, and that's having someone take the meeting going, okay, yeah, we'll shift some employees around, we'll do this, and then, yep. And some of it is just like, yeah, you have to apply, but then it retroactivates or it doesn't. And then maybe you take, like, oh, we're willing to let you have 3 days off until it kicks in, or maybe you take vacation, then it kicks in. And there's all kinds of stuff. And half of it is just navigating it. Like, oh, is this, like by state, legally, it might be like, oh, yes, if it's your mother, it qualifies. Oh, it's your fiance's mother and they live with you. Let me look in to see if that qualifies. So it's stuff like that where it's like the company already knows, like, yeah, we're going to do it. We just don't want to break the law. So let me see what the law states and we'll help you through that. And I do believe that HR that's doing a good job is mostly just going, hey, let me try to navigate through a lot of this, because there's the more people you have, the more unique scenarios you have where it's like, oh, we haven't run into that before, like that. Okay, yeah. And you can just get lots of things starting to stack up on each other too. Like, oh, you've got your brother's coming back from the military, you've got leave with that, but now this person has an illness and we're going to have leave for that. But then also you've got bereavement leave because your grandpa died. And like just navigating that, like that happens in people's lives. Like, oh man, that is, disasters come in threes. Like, okay, let's spend some time and see what that looks like and see, what all that means. my shirt will get real duckweed sleeves in no time. Nice. My wife loves it when there's duckweed in the dryer. And by loves it, I mean hates it. Who do I talk to bring in Aquarium Co-op products? You could send us an email and that'll get forwarded to Asia, who is kind of managing onboarding stores. And by onboarding, there'd be an interview, there's looking into your business, all of those types of things go down. It's not just like, have money, take it. You actually have to, I don't want to say be worthy because that makes it sound weird, but you got to just meet the standards that everybody else has to meet. That way it stays fair. Fair? Is that the right word? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right word. Let's see here. Just got my 1-year coin in my last order. Nice. I like it. Oh yeah, I met a fan. I forgot to ask her name, so I felt bad. I met a fan at the airport in Atlanta. I was in the line to go to the lounge. Oh yeah, I'm bougie. My credit card gives it to me, but it was like a 3-hour layover, so I was glad to have it. But I was in line, and then I was like next in line, and the person's like, Corey? So I asked if I could step aside. We took a quick picture, gave him the coin. The coin reminded me of it. That's why I said that. but I couldn't really hang out because they're like, yeah, you can go in. I was like, oh, I just waited in line. I guess I got to go. So hopefully that person was like, that guy totally left. Like, well, I just waited in the line, and then it was Atlanta Airport is the epicenter of the universe. I swear, there are so many people there. It is out of control. So yeah. Ooh, Mountaintop Puffer Keeper. Just noticed 2 more co-op orders to 100. I always wanted to put like a special thing like at different order numbers, but I don't want people to go out of their way to be like, oh, I'm gonna place a ton of small orders. Like that is literally killing the environment and our business to get the stupid thing. Not the stupid thing, but like, it's like, oh yeah, you get a Aquarium Co-op party hat, and then there'd be people that would be like gaming the system. And it's like, oh, we can't afford to give out party hats anymore. What do I do with a Fluval 15 full of cribs? Well, you see if your store wants any, and then when they say, no, we got too much, like, oof, then, then you just gotta like donate them to the store, and yeah, half the time cribenzas get sold fine. The other half the time, when they come into our store, they get put into the adoption tank and they leave for $1 and find new homes. But yeah, never did ever did I think I'd hear Corey say bougie. I'm pretty sure I picked that up from employees and stuff. Like, cause when I heard that word, I'm like, what does that word even mean? And I looked it up and I was like, all right, that's applicable, I think. New friend says, as someone who has used FMLA, I feel like employees need their own HR person to navigate it. Yeah, there are things that when you need to utilize the system that is there for you, it is crazy hard to navigate. And that's the last thing you need when you need FMLA or any of those things where you need to like not be at work. The last thing you need is for it to be crazy challenging to navigate. So yeah, that's why I say like a good HR system really is helping the employees. It also helps the business. There's no doubt about that, right? But it should be that it's seen as a benefit to both sides. And yeah, so I don't get emails from Aquarium Co-op anymore. Hop on the website at the bottom. You can apply. Not apply. You can just put your email in there. It should sync it back up and go, hey, you get emails. Also check your spam. The best thing you guys could do is if you're in like Google, especially Google, if you like mark the emails a known sender, the more of you guys that do that, the more kudos we get. And like, so even if you're getting the email, when you say like, this is not spam and it's an approved thing, it will make it so that someone like Rick Sanchez there, it might be going to his spam. It would no longer go to spam because like, oh, Google would go, Gmail would say like, oh, we trust this company. And therefore it'll be more deliverable. So even if you're already getting it, you can help people that are struggling to get it by just going, no, Corey's not spamming the crap out of us, not doing anything evil here. He's just, talking about stuff. Bob's here. Haven't seen him around since he got a girlfriend. Bob got married and he's going to have a baby. Yeah, time flies. If I lived in South Florida, what fish would you be raising in outdoor tubs? And what about plants? Wondering if it's too hot. I just moved here from New York. Most things can survive outside there. If I was doing some serious tubs outside, cherry shrimp because they look amazing in sunlight, and then probably just live bears because I love live bears. And then plants, I really do miss when I was growing like irises and other things that would like come out of the water and bloom and look cool. That, but it depends. Like, are you doing it because you want to enjoy it? That's what I would do. Where if you're like, well, I want to make some money or something, then you'd look towards like, okay, well, like floating plants are pretty easy to do that with. Yeah. Oh, did I miss someone's question? My wife's telling me if you buy a super chat, it doesn't guarantee. I always try my best, but sometimes the dollar and the $2 ones, they don't really show up. Like I've got a thing over here that'll keep track, but the lower ones that don't like stick at the top don't fill or don't feed in the same way. So sometimes, yeah. I miss the days of joining Seafood Aquatics live after Aquarium Co-op and spamming Bob. Yeah, we used to do those raids and everything. Yeah, we could do some of that stuff going forward. Mostly, I'm working. I'm trying to stay committed to my own schedule. Like I fell off the wagon where I was like, oh man, I wasn't streaming enough, and now I'm getting pretty on it. Even though I know I'm missing next week, but it's kind of a special occasion, and you know. Let's see here. Thinking about doing a small outdoor pond. I'm in California. It's currently can get up to 110. Yeah, put it in some shade. Put it in the ground. Sink it a little bit. There's a few things you can do. You could put a fan on it for evaporative cooling. Yeah, all those help. I was gonna say in degrees, like yes, like literally degrees, but then also like, add them all up, and it's like, oh, it's a 30-degree difference in improvement. I hope Bob names a kid Corey or Dean. I told him when I was in his stream on Monday, I said I sponsored it, and the middle name for the kid is Aquarium Co-op. Name the baby Nerman or Nirma for a girl. Let's see here. It's more like the chat scrolls by while other questions higher up are in line and are being answered, and some are being impatient. That can happen for sure. This is, yeah, definitely. There's so many systems I wish worked better for YouTube. Like, there's some systems where you can have people queue up questions. I love that system, but they make it incredibly difficult to use with YouTube. So really all I can do is in all facets of life is try my best. That's really all I can do. Bob's making it rain. Lots of $1. I pay for the membership and don't always get my questions answered, even if they're highlighted. But when there's over 500 people in the chat, Corey is down a rabbit hole on a topic. It happens. No drama. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like to think that the members and everyone knows, like, I'm trying my best. And if you've ever seen me in an event, it's like that, except this chat room's got 500 people, but there's a line of 500 people, and I just go, yep, I'm going to do as much as I can these 8 hours. That's what I'll do. The other thing you can do, if you're not getting your question answered, come in the hour before the live stream. There's many less people there, so that works out well, and we can talk about stuff. Join the forum, join the Facebook group, all of that too. I'm, checking on all of those every day, basically. By the way, you can also post stuff up to the community page. I've been checking that out. It's been cool to see all the pictures and fry and that kind of stuff. So if you're not using that yet, check it out. Only on mobile so far. Any plans for a co-op auto doser? It'd be nice to find something that doesn't need constant tweaking like the ones currently on the market. It's on a list. Right now, the ones we're testing and using are the bulk resupply dosers. They dose, well, they're supposed to dose like 1.1 milliliters per minute, but it's more like 1.8 milliliters per minute. And we hook them up to a Casa Wi-Fi timer. That's what we're actually using in the warehouse as of 3 weeks ago. And they seem to be very accurate so far. But just because they're doing that right now doesn't mean they stay that way in a year or 2 years. Most times they're good at the beginning and then they wear. But the bulk resupply ones, you can buy replacement parts and stuff. So I'm hopeful for that. I like Twitch more than YouTube live, but YouTube definitely has more content for binge watching and monetizing. Yeah, there's definitely strengths to all types of platforms. And yeah, mostly it comes down to there's only so much time in the day to grow on different platforms and utilize them and stay in the know and build the 10,000 emojis for Twitch and all that. After so many years in the hobby and business, do I still have dreamfish they have not kept? Yeah. Anableps, which is a livebearer, four-eyed livebearer, brackish water, still There's a guy in the Facebook group that keeps them, and every time I'm like, should I just divert all attention on everything I'm doing and go straight to that? And then I go, well, someday it'll be the right time for that. Do I ever have Casa Wi-Fi timers stop turning on and off like they're supposed to? Not really, no. Candy probably knows better than I, but from what I know, Candy's saying a factory reset, but most times, in my opinion, it's actually Wi-Fi coverage. It's real easy to have stuff in a room and that kind of stuff that will kind of block that and avoid the syncing. And so if you don't have a rad mesh network for your house, I highly recommend investing in one. Is Extreme's Community Crave product a zombie product? No, it's a real good seller. So what I find interesting is it now outsells the krill because I haven't like told people to buy krill, like we don't market it like we used to. And I think in general, people like the idea of the Community Crave. They're like, it covers all the bases, even though I firmly believe the krill flake is just superior in every way. But I'm not going to tell people not to buy something. If you want it, you want it. If you love it, you love it. Let's see here. I was just about to say the community section on here is brilliant. It's a brilliant way to build the hobby and talk to Corey. Yeah, I think it's going to take a bit for people to go, oh, here's a thing. Okay, I see what we're doing here. And as that kind of catches on more and more, and they release features and they develop it more, I think it's going to get better and better. But we'll have to see, like they could just abandon it. I doubt it, but even like membership, we were one of the first people to have it. It's changed a ton all the way till now. They're still releasing features and stuff. They don't always make sense for what we do, but yeah. Sadly, Casa can't work for me. We don't have the internet. We just run things off our phones. I feel like I would not be able to live that way. I would set up a router and then I would like piggyback either like an iPad with a device or with a SIM card, or I would buy a hotspot and do that because like just there's so many lights and just stuff. I can literally all the lights around me. I can turn water on and off. So much. Would love to find out where you get your gravel at. Like this gravel I think it's called Cumberland Ranch, and we buy it from our local wholesaler. So yeah. But in general, I would just buy, is it tan? Is it gravel? Is it round? That'll work. I've never been too picky. It's like, yeah, just brown tan gravel. Hides the poop, looks good, like it, heavy, like it. Yeah, so if you got a hotspot, you should be able to probably Ethernet cable to a mesh network basically, and then you'd have it all and it could all talk. Yeah, I can't post on community yet. Yeah, you're waiting for that YouTube trust to build up. They're supposedly, as each week goes by, loosening it up a bit. The more you comment, the more you interact with the channel, in theory, the more it will build a trust there and then allow you to do it. It's not a perfect system, and I'm going to chat with the developers on that, where we can talk like daily. And they're working on making it more and more fluid and easy. And, because I was like, how about someone that's over a year on memberships just auto-granted it? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. We should work on building that at some point. So, because they have it for mods. If you're a moderator for our channel, you should be able to post no problem. So they have that kind of capability. Now they just need to work it into that. YouTube doesn't trust me. Yeah. Let's see here. So let me know in chat, or if Corey sees this, is it possible for livebearers, female guppies of an unknown species, to crossbreed with egg layers, red neon pseudomogils? To the best of my knowledge, that would be impossible. You can cross guppies with mollies, but then they can't reproduce. I don't know of any that have crossed with pseudomogils. I would say it's impossible, but there's always the craziest stuff in the world. So I would say, like, yeah, 99.9% chance that's not happening, but nature does some weird stuff every once in a while. 5 o'clock. Whew. Well, I guess it's 8 o'clock if you're on the East Coast, which 70% or more of you are on the East Coast. Crazy. Did we sell any shirts yet? Must be selling some. I know you're holding back. Got to order them 10 packs. We don't have real pictures yet. Let's see here. So yeah, it won't be live next week. Tomorrow's video. Yeah, you guys seem to like the video that I said was going to be terrible. It just shows I have no idea what I know anymore. I literally was like, yeah, you guys are going to hate this video coming out this week. And then it performed way better than every other video we've released in the last 2 months. So in theory, this next video is also going to be terrible. But maybe you guys, that's exactly what you want to see. So, I don't know anymore. I worked for my wrench. That's funny. Yeah, I really haven't really added any more mods. Did I say 70%? Yeah, 70% of our customers are on the East Coast. So, yeah, we were data. You match up all that data, you start looking at it going, that's crazy. But then when you look at the maps, you actually find out like, oh, just most of the population of the United States East. That's weird. Didn't know that. Because I live in Washington. Like if you live in Washington and in California, you're like, oh no, there's heck of people here. Tons. And then you've got all the mid that there's nobody. That's what you don't realize. You just think like, yeah, other places have people too. Yeah, not like the West Coast and East Coast. I read that weird. Congratulations on all your success. You smell terrific. I thought it said you smell traffic. And I was like, Candy smells traffic? Yeah, she doesn't use Google Maps. She just smells it. Yep. I-5's clogged up today. 8 o'clock in Michigan. Yep. Steven, you should probably include the doggos more. We'd go viral. Oh, there's plenty of ways to go viral, but that doesn't necessarily like back up what we're trying to actually accomplish and educate. Like that's always been the crux of YouTube for us is, do we do something crazy and get everybody to watch, or do we try and help people and educate? And I still remain committed to that. There's been times where we try to do both and it's difficult, but like feeding the 800-gallon a pound of like frozen bloodworms, not as educational, but the hope is we package it with a bunch of other educational stuff and hopefully it helps. All right, I suppose that's it. Let's see, do my job. I need you guys to buy everything. Because of Labor Day, we hit a new record on Tuesday, the most packages, most orders. There's more packages. There's 720 orders went out, and then there was more packages than that because X amount of orders or more than one package, and then I remember what was it? It was it 1,700 plants went out that day, 2,700. I can't remember, but it was a lot. It was impressive to see the warehouse working to be that efficient and everything. I was there for it. So I was like, because I thought like, oh, today's gonna be a monster. Maybe we won't be able to do what I want to do with the plant tanks. And the crew handled it amazing. So that was good to see. So we're ready to handle what you guys throw at us. So that's cool. Have I ever been crabbing? Why doesn't anyone make an overly engineered mini crab trap for catching aquarium invertebrates? It could be more fun. I have been crabbing like once. I don't know why. My guess is, oddly enough, we used to make the bait bags with like, you make them out of that metal, you make them and they use crimp rings and all of that. That was a side gig for my family, like during summer growing up. to make some extra money. And then part of my ways to make extra money was we'd go to the place and we would make the buoys. So you know you have a buoy, right, that you got to put on lines and stuff. Well, those are basically done by hand. You have a giant thing of like red paint, and you just dip it in and hang it, dip it in and hang it, and yeah, you do that all day long. And oddly enough, it didn't really like smell like paint. So whatever paint it was, maybe it was like more like rubber or something, but it wasn't crazy smelly or anything. But yeah, you would do that for hours and hours and hours, and yeah, you make like $8 an hour or something, and that's how I'd buy like, hey, I gotta buy a bike or something, you know, whatever you need in the summertime as a kid. I mean, I was probably like 14, so I wasn't a kid, but yeah. I can't wait for the brand ambassador warehouse tour. Yeah, you keep waiting, Bob. You keep waiting. Paddlefish and sturgeon crossed? Is that really a thing? That's crazy. I didn't know that. Like in the wild or like in a lab they made it happen? Hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway, I've got a little bit of work I want to do. Hopefully, you guys will buy a ton of shirts. And if you buy a lot of shirts and other stuff, then we'll launch more shirts. That's how it goes. If you buy lots of plants, we will bring more plants in, including more variety. So there's that too. Yeah, mostly I just say thank you. Thanks for showing up. Hopefully, I'll see you in 2 weeks because this next Sunday, I have to miss it. I'm still thinking, is there a time I can fit another live stream in? So there might be a rogue live stream this week coming up if I can fit it in. We'll see. Otherwise, I'll see you at the GSAS meeting here locally. And yeah, video comes out tomorrow. Can't complain about that. Maybe I'll see you around. Maybe I won't. Maybe you'll buy all my stuff. Maybe you won't. Compliment somebody. Enjoy nature.